All right, Davin. So here are some of the components that you're going to have. These basically are the outside. This is going to be an outside mount application over a sliding glass door. So we will need spacer blocks. If for some reason they don't have enough spacer blocks, we're going to have to use an extension bracket. But normally, I would say we should be able to get away. Of course, the handle on this door sticks out a little bit. Um, so that might present a slight problem. Um, so maybe just check how far the handle sticks out and, kind of go from there. But I would imagine we're probably going to have to use extension brackets because if you use too many spacer blocks, then you're not going to have screws long enough. So make sure you have anchors and stuff with you because that's how you're probably going to have to put the extension brackets on. If you think we can get away with one or two spacer blocks, then go ahead and just use the spacer block. We're just obviously going to have to make sure we have long enough screws for that. So there's the spacer blocks. Those are the faceplates that you're going to use. So basically what the faceplate does is it snaps on to the spacer block. So that's really how that's going to work. Shims if you need it. There's an extension bracket. That's a ceiling mount for an inside mount, which we're not doing on this one. And then those are just extension bracket cover kits. These are swivel plates. You're going to use these on basically the shears themselves. So these go on the ends of the soft track. That's the track that the shears kind of run across. So you'll use those. I'll go ahead and just play the install videos for you here. We'll just do the outside mount video, and then I'll do the other video, and you should be good to go.
In this video, we will be installing full panel Luminette Privacy Shear Soft Track Headrail as an outside mount.
Our configuration is a right stack with a 1-quart operator.
The first step in this installation is to properly unpack the product. Do not remove the protective wrapping until you are ready to attach the fabric panels to the soft track. Lift the tube out of the box and set on the floor. To remove the soft track headrail and installation hardware from the tube, locate the plastic bag that protrudes from the protective styrofoam end cap. Pull the styrofoam end cap out of the tube, and then the bag's soft track will follow with the installation hardware. Be sure to leave the other styrofoam end cap inserted in the tube. By doing this, you keep the fabric panel from being crushed on the floor. Remove the soft track headrail and installation hardware from the bag. Set aside the installation hardware. Then remove all styrofoam from around the soft track. Remove the foam supports from the tilt shaft. On wider soft tracks, there may be 2 or more foam supports attached to the tilt shaft inside the headrail. Each order will include installation hardware that accommodates the ordered width. Components will include installation screws, shims, and bracket assemblies consisting of spacer blocks, bushings, and faceplates. To determine spacer block positioning, locate the manufacturing label on the top of the headrail to find the ordered width and height. It is a good idea at this time to also note the correct control position on the manufacturing label. For the correct spacer block height positioning, measure up from the floor onto the wall the ordered height plus 1/2 inch for floor clearance. If more or less floor clearance is desired, adjust the bracket height accordingly. Mark this position. This is where the top of the installation bracketing will go. You will need to determine how the soft track headrail will be positioned over the window opening. In some cases, the soft track will be centered over the window opening. In other cases, the soft track will be placed off-center so that the fabric stack is clear of the window opening.
We will be centering our soft track over the opening.
To determine the end spacer block positioning, measure the width of the opening, from jamb to jamb or trim edge to trim edge if it applies. Subtract the width of the opening from the ordered track width. Divide the remainder by 2. Measure out from the jamb or trim this amount on each side of the opening. Mark these positions. This is where the ends of the soft track will be positioned for our centered placement. From those marks, measure in 5 inches to position the spacer blocks. Mark these positions.
Now it's time for us to attach the spacer blocks to the wall. Never mount into curved molding. Always mount onto a flat wall surface and into wood whenever possible.
If you are fastening the spacer blocks to drywall, be sure to use wall anchors and follow the instructions provided with the anchors. Drywall anchors, however, are not included. The spacer block has 2 tabs at the top to provide clearance when mounting it adjacent to the ceiling. For other applications, remove the tabs by cutting them off. Bushings should be inserted into the slots on the back of the spacer blocks. The bushings prevent the spacer block from cracking if the screws are over-tightened.
Here's a tip from the Certified Installer program. As long as you set the torque setting correctly on your drill, you can eliminate the bushings as long as you don't over-tighten the screws when installing the bracket.
Position the spacer block so the top of it is on your mark. Install it using 2 screws. Repeat this procedure on the other side of the opening. Any additional spacer blocks should be spaced evenly across the span of the soft track. Check to ensure all spacer blocks are level and aligned for proper operation of the soft track. It is important that the spacer blocks project in a straight line across the surface of the wall from left to right. If they are not, you will need to use shims to properly align the spacer blocks. To shim the spacer blocks, loosen the installation screws securing the spacer block to the wall. Insert 1 or more shims between the spacer block and the wall. Then retighten the installation screws.
Because our window has trim, we'll be adding spacer blocks for rear vane clearance.
Snap additional spacer blocks that came with the order onto the installed spacer blocks. A maximum of 4 spacer blocks can be used per location. Once all spacer blocks are installed, attach a faceplate to the front of each spacer block. On each faceplate, push up on the locking screws. By doing this, it raises the locking tab, making it easier to install the soft track headrail.
Now it's time to install the soft track. Here's a tip from the Certified Installer program. Start from the center of the window and work your way to each end. This is much easier than starting from one end and working to the other.
The groove on the back of the headrail is designed to snap into the locking tab on the faceplate. Tilt the front of the headrail, which is the side with the pinion clip, up so that the top groove fits into the locking tab on each faceplate. With the top groove in place on all faceplates, tilt the headrail down so the bottom groove fits into the bottom tabs. Slide the soft track headrail between the end marks and then tighten the locking screws until snug. It is important that you do not over-tighten the screws. Over-tightening the screws may crack the locking tab.
We have successfully installed our Luminette Privacy Shears soft track headrail as an outside mount.
All right, so on the installation for today, it's not going to be center mounted. I believe they ordered it as a right stack, but they're stacking it all the way off of the sliding glass door, so there's nothing covering that window because the handle to open the door is on the right. So what they're going to do is they're going to take the stack all the way off to the right, so they can access that handle. And I was wrong previously. We won't need longer screws, so he just kind of confirmed that you can just attach the one spacer block, and then you can add up to 4 to it. We'll probably end up having to do that, and that should give us enough clearance. Let me get out of here, and we'll watch the fabric panel installation, and that'll be it.
In this video, we will be installing a Luminette fabric panel onto the soft track headrail. To begin the installation, test the operation of the soft track by traversing the fabric carriers to the fully closed position. The carriers should move freely. Twist the wand to check the rotation of the pinion clips. Rotate the pinion clips perpendicular to the headrail. Then, Pull the cord to move the fabric carriers to the fully stacked position.
Make sure that your fabric panel tube can stand up straight without touching the ceiling. Right now, ours cannot. If the tube is too long to stand on end, carefully and safely trim the tube to the appropriate length with a utility knife. Make sure that you have clean hands when handling the Luminette fabric.
With the panel tube standing up, slide the protective plastic down the tube to the floor. Carefully remove the paper bands. Attach the first vane to the first pinion clip on the end of the track. To attach the vane, insert the vane tab into the pinion clip until the vane tab hole snaps securely into place. Continue to unroll the fabric as you attach the rest of the vanes into the pinion clips. Be careful not to skip any pinion clips or vanes during this process. If you have skipped a pinion clip or vane, identify the vane or pinion clip that you have missed. You will need to remove all vanes from the pinion clips to the one you had skipped. Remove the vane by grasping it near the pinion clip and pull to the left. Repeat for all remaining vanes. The next step is to attach the swivel plates. They are packed separately with the installation hardware. Standard swivel plates are right and left specific and are marked PNLR for right and PNLL for left in addition to other information on the label. Since this shade has a right control, snap the rivet on the right swivel plate onto the front clip of the control end cap of the soft track. Attach the end treatment to the swivel plate by holding it 1/8 inch above the top of the swivel plate. Press the end treatment onto the swivel plate. If the end treatment is not hanging straight, its height will need to be repositioned. Separate the swivel plate from the end treatment by pulling up on the end of the treatment.
Here's a tip from the Certified Installer Program. Raising the fabric will cause the fabric to flare out. Lowering the fabric will cause the fabric to flare in.
Reattach the end treatment. Repeat this adjustment as necessary. Attach the left swivel plate to the swivel arm on the other side of the soft track headrail. Attach the remaining end treatment and adjust as necessary. Traverse the soft track to test the operation of the fabric panel. It's important to always traverse the soft track with the vanes in the fully rotated, opened position. The fabric should move easily and should not stick or jam at any point along the soft track headrail. With the shade in the fully closed position, rotate the vanes using the wand left and right to observe their closure. All vanes should be synchronized, opening and closing easily.
We have successfully attached the Luminette fabric panel to a soft track headrail.
Look to see if there's any adjustment videos you might need to have to make. Doesn't look like it. This is showing the wand that they give, but the one that we're going to be doing today is power view. So basically that's it. Once again, this fabric is extremely not fragile, but it can't get dirty at all. So just make sure, once you install the soft track rail and you start messing with the fabric, go ahead and just wash your hands before that. But that should be it. I appreciate it.